Rain lashed the wooden boards of Stonebrook's town square, soaking the faces of the jeering crowd as thunder cracked overhead. She stood alone on the platform, bound at the wrists, her white dress clinging to her skin, translucent and torn. The crowd roared at her silence. She kept her chin high. Her name was Elira, 17 years old. In everything about Hertha, defiance in her dark eyes. The blood on her lips from refusing to kneel spoke of a dignity the Pike settlement could never crush. The auctioneer, a man with yellow teeth and a voice like a rattlesnake, raised his hand, one of a kind. Educated, untouched, rare. A man barked out 2 silvers. 5, shouted another. The numbers climbed. Elira felt them, like knives. To them, she wasn't a person. She was property. Her mother had taught her that words could save the world. But now, surrounded by sneers and smoke, unmoving, his hands were buried deep in his coat. He hadn't bid. Not yet. Elira's eyes scanned the crowd, skipping over drunkards and gamblers, catching on that still figure. He didn't leer. He didn't speak. His gaze met hers, and in it she saw something strange, not lust. Something dangerous. The price climbed to 30 silver pieces. A bandit near the front, a brute with a half missing. Nose laughed and doubled the bid. The crowd roared approval. 50 silver. Going once 100. The voice cut through the rain like a shot. The crowd fell silent. Jonas Cade stepped forward, pulling off his hat. His face was rough with days of stubble, his eyes unreadable. He laid a pouch of coin on the platform. "That all you got, stranger?" spat the auctioneer. Enough. No one challenged the bid. Not the bandit, not the townsman. Something in Jonas's posture, or maybe the way his hand hovered near his coat, spoke clearly enough. No one wanted to test him. The gavel hit the wood. Sold. Led Elira down the steps like a calf to slaughter. She resisted at first, unsure whether she was escaping hell or stepping into a quieter version of it. Jonas didn't speak as she approached. "Move," he said, without turning. They left Stonebrook in silence. For an hour they rode beneath the trees. The sky was iron, the air cold. Elira clutched the saddle horn, legs weak from hunger. Jonas didn't offer food or water. He didn't look back. Finally, when the trail widened and the pines closed around them, she broke the silence. "Why?" He didn't answer. "Debt. You're going to kill me, at least. Say why." Jonas halted his horse. He turned. Rain dripped from the brim of his hat. "If I wanted you dead, you'd already be buried." That was all. He urged his horse forward. They made camp near a stream. Jonas built a fire while Elira sat motionless. On a fallen log, her dress was still soaked. She shivered. He tossed her a blanket and some dry jerky. "Eat." She took it, hands trembling. "You paid for me. You own me now, is that it?" Jonas didn't respond. She leaned forward. "Well, what am I to you? A debt paid? That's all?" Elira stared. "What debt?" He didn't answer. He rolled into his bedroll, back to her, the firelight flickering across the lines in his face. She watched him until sleep overtook her. Morning came hard. Frost bit the edges of the stream. Jonas was already up packing. He handed her a canteen. "You're not strong enough to walk. Mount up." She didn't argue. Not yet. For 3 days they traveled. Through the wilderness. Elira didn't know where they were going, she asked. He didn't say, but he protected her. When wolves circled their camp, he kept watch all night. When her legs gave out climbing a steep ridge, he lifted her without complaint. Still he spoke. Little, only when necessary. It was the 4th night she noticed it, a small, carved figure in his hand as he sat by the fire. A child's toy. He whittled in silence. "You have a daughter?" she asked. He paused. Nodded. "Where is she?" He stared into the flames, waiting. Something cracked in Elira then. She pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. "Why would you bring me with you? Why not just leave me in Stonebrook?" Jonas took a long breath. "Because I saw a girl who still had fight in her. And because sometimes saving someone else is the only way to save yourself. He got up, disappearing into the woods. She watched the fire burn low that night. When she awoke, he was sitting near her, tending the flames. She didn't pretend to be asleep. "You don't talk much," she said. "Talking won't change what's behind me and what's ahead. A climb." He looked at her then, really looked, felt, not like a man to a possession, but like someone who saw her frightened, bruised, unbroken. The journey grew harder. Snow flurried on the 5th day. Jonas handed her dry clothes from his pack. They were too big but warm. "You knew this would be hard," she said. He nodded. Did it anyway. That night, she dreamed of fire and smoke and the screams of her village. She woke gasping. Jonas sat against the door, rifle across his lap. "They killed my mother," she whispered. He said nothing. "They sold my friends. I have a name anymore." He stood, walked to the fire, and stirred the embers. "You do, and if you can survive this, you get to choose what it means." In the days that followed, she began to change. She learned to ride faster, to cook small game. She caught fish with her bare hands, while Jonas watched with something like approval. Once, Jonas caught her before she fell, pulled her close. For a second, they just breathed. He let go first. They spoke little, but they began to understand each other in gestures. The way he checked the sky before camp, the way she stacked wood without being asked. Small signs of survival, of respect, and still something hunted them. Jonas grew more alert, scouted ahead often. One evening, he returned tense, hand on. His rifle. "We need to move." "What is it?" "Someone's following." It traveled through the night. Jonas set her behind a tree. "Don't move, no matter what." Through the trees, she saw Jonas wrestling a man to the ground. Another figure raised a rifle. A blur moved through the trees. An arrow whistled. The rifleman fell. Jonas stood, breathing hard. His face was bloodied. Silent figure, native warrior, with paint on his face and feathers in his hair. He looked at Elira, then at Jonas, then vanished. Jonas limped back. "Who was that?" she asked. "Someone who remembers what debt means. They buried the attackers." Jonas said nothing more. That night, Elira sat beside him. "You keep saving me. I'm not saving you. I'm giving you a chance. What you do with it is yours." She nodded. The fire cracked. The stars spread wide above them, and beneath their silence, a bond was being forged, wordless, unsteady, but growing stronger with every step toward the unknown. Jonas until they were 10 paces from the porch. The girl stood, eyes narrowed. Then a woman stepped outside, a worn rifle in hand. Elira froze. The woman saw Jonas and went pale. The rifle dipped. Jonas, he nodded. The girl ran to him, stopped short. He dropped to one knee. She threw herself into his arms. The woman didn't move. Her mouth trembled. You should have stayed dead. I tried. They spoke in low voices, words too soft to hear. Elira watched the girl cling to his coat. Watched Jonas hold her like he was afraid she'd vanish. Later, inside the cabin, Mare curled near the fire with a bowl of stew. The girl Hannah sat. Beside her, already braiding flowers into Mare's hair. Elira and Jonas stood outside. She's happy, Lyra said. She's safe. He stared at the window, face unreadable. You're not staying, are you? No. You don't belong. Here. I don't deserve to. Elira looked away. You gave her a second chance. So did you? The wind stirred. Snowflakes danced in the air. Where will you go? He shook his head. I don't know. But there are others. Other girls. Other places. Elira placed a hand on his arm. Then we find them. He looked at her. You're not done saving people, she said. Neither are you. He turned from the house, walked back toward the woods. In the morning, Mare stood between them, her small hand in Elira's. Behind them, Anna watched from the porch. The road ahead was long, cold, unknown, but they didn't look back. Not this time. I crossed into Ash Hollow by sunrise, the valley bathed in mist, thick with old pine and frostbitten grass. It was the final stretch before the southern passes. Jonas had said nothing for hours, his limp more pronounced, his movements slower. Mare dozed against Elira's back, arms around her waist, trusting her utterly now. The child had spoken less since they'd left the cabin, but her grip never loosened. Jonas stopped ahead, one hand raised. Elira halted beside him. Silence. Then faint would creak in a trap. She slid off the saddle. Stay with Mare, Jonas said, unslinging his rifle. But Elira shook her head. You're hurt. They moved as one through the brush. The path bent sharply, and there it was. A wagon overturned, smoke curling from its wreck. A figure groaned beneath the wheel. Elira knelt first. A man, bleeding from the scalp, looked up, dazed. He whispered something. Ambush, Jonas said. Too late. The first bullet struck the dirt beside her. Jonas grabbed her, yanked her behind the wagon. 3 more shots rang out from the ridge above. Lyra grabbed Mare and pressed her flat beneath the axled frame. Jonas returned fire, sharp and fast, each shot deliberate. She saw the shapes nowmen. 6 at least moving through the trees with methodical malice. Not bandits, not amateurs. These were trackers. They weren't after supplies. They were after her. Take Mare and run, Jonas growled. No, you'll slow me down. I'm not leaving you again. He stared, the way he had the first night, measuring her. But now there was no hesitation. He handed her his spare revolver. You shoot to stop them, nothing else. She nodded. They crawled through the brush, Mare clutching her side. Elira felt her pulse in her throat. They reached a rocky ledge. Below a steep drop, behind voices closing in, Jonas pointed down the incline. We slide. It's the only way. Elira grabbed Mare. Together they descended, dirt and stones tearing at their hands. A shot cracked above Jonas cried out. He stumbled halfway, slid the rest. Blood ran from his shoulder. Lyra reached him, pressed a cloth to the wound, but they had no time. The enemy moved fast. They found a cave beneath an outcrop and took shelter. Jonas was pale. The bullet had gone through clean, but he was weakening. Elira stoked a fire. Mare wrapped herself in Jonas's coat, silent, watching. Elira cleaned the wound with water, tore strips from her undershirt to bind it. You should have left me, he whispered. And let a child raise a child? His eyes met hers. A flicker of something soft. You've changed, so have you. They waited until dark. No more gunfire, but outside tracks. Signals in the snow. They weren't gone. They were waiting. They'll follow the horse's trail, Jonah said. We need to separate. No. He looked at her with a tired kind of certainty. You and Mare follow the river. 2 miles. There's a ravine. Cross it. I'll draw them. Elira shook her head. They'll kill you, and I'll take as many of them as I can. Mare clutched Elira's hand. She's terrified, Elira said. She's alive. Silence filled the cave. Finally, Elira nodded. But only once, before dawn, Jonah stood at the mouth of the cave. He looked older in the pale light, tired. Not defeated, Elira stepped forward. If we survive this, what then? We find the next girl. He handed her the carved figurine. She's yours now. Then he vanished into the trees. Elira ran, her mare beside her. The river was near, its banks slick and cold. They waded in, water biting at their skin, the flow tugging hard. But Elira didn't let go. It's not of Mare, not of her will. Behind them, gunfire echoed through the valley. Elira didn't look back. They crossed the ravine before noon. Wind screamed through the canyon. Mare was shivering, her lips blue. Elira built a fire from damp wood, smoke rising thin and fast, then dashed footsteps. She grabbed the revolver. Shadow moved through the trees. But it wasn't Jonas. The man who stepped forward wore gray leathers, a bandolier across his chest. His face was marked with old scars. One eye milky white, carried a long rifle, but it remained at his side. You're the girl, he said. Lyra didn't speak. He nodded toward Mare. That one's not yours. She is now. Tilted his head. You're not for sale anymore, no, Elira said. But you can try. The man smiled. You've got fire. I'll give you that. Another man appeared beside him, and a third. Elira aimed, breath shaking, but before they moved, a howl ripped through the trees. A single arrow hissed from the brush, striking the second man in the throat. Chaos erupted. The third bandit fell back. The scarred one spun, gun raised, too late. Jonas emerged like a wraith, rifle braced against his shoulder, his shot ringing out. The leader crumpled, blood blooming on his chest. It was over in seconds. Elira ran to Jonas, helped him down. He leaned on her breath, ragged, blood dripping fresh from a gash on his side. You came back? He smiled weakly. I never left. From the shadows, the warrior appeared once more. His eyes met Elira's. He nodded not just to her, but to the child, then turned and vanished, leaving only silence. They burned the bodies before dusk. No words. That night, they camped in a hollow of pine and ash. Jonas lay near the fire, his breathing shallow but steady. Elira sat with Mare, the carved figure in her hand. She's safe, Elira whispered. She's strong, Jonas said, eyes barely open. So are you. Next morning, Mare was the first to wake. She stood quietly by the stream, skipping stones. Elira watched her, something tender unfurling inside her chest, a kind of quiet hope. Jonas stirred, sitting up with effort. She's healing, he said. So are we. He nodded. What now? She asked. He looked toward the rising sun. South. There's a trail town. I know someone. We rest. Then we ride. Elira smiled faintly. Together, he met her eyes. Always. They moved slowly now. Not out of fear, but caution, respect. The world hadn't changed. Still cruel, still wild, but something had shifted. In them, they reached the trail town after 3 days, a place called Mercy Bend. It wasn't on maps. The people didn't ask questions. Jonas found work repairing wagons. Elira helped the local medic, learning to set bones, mix tinctures. Mare made friends, laughed for the first time. One evening, as the sun bled over the ridge, Jonas handed Elira a note, a name, a location. There's another girl, he said, taken west. Elira folded the note. We'll go soon. That night, they sat outside the saloon, watching the stars appear. Jonas broke the silence. When I found you on that platform, I didn't think you'd last a week. I didn't think you were anything but another monster, he smiled. No, she said. You were broken. There's a difference, he looked at her. You helped me survive, she said. But more than that, you reminded me I was still human. Mare ran up, giggling. She held a flower in each hand. "For you," she said, handing one to each of them. Jonas took it like it was made of glass. Elira placed hers behind her ear. A wind passed over them. Soft and warm. Not every wound heals clean. Not every past stays buried. But that night, around a small fire in a place called Mercy Bend, 3 souls found something close to peace. And when the morning came, they would ride again, because evil didn't rest, but neither did they.